Hello and welcome to my channel, Talisman Tarot. In this reading I want to ask the cards and spirit directly through channeling about what people like about you, and I have 7 groups here that you can choose from. This will be group number 1, this will be group number 2, this will be group number 3, this will be group number 4, this will be group number 5, this will be group number 6, and this will be group number 7. And so I will ask you to use your intuition and choose the group that speaks to you the most, the group that catches your eye, and that group will be your group. And if you need any more time to choose, you can just pause the video. But if you don't need any more time, then just head down to the description box below and find the timestamp for your particular reading and click on that, and your reading should appear in front of you. And I'll see you in your reading. Hello, group number 1. You chose this Jolanda Tarot deck, and I will start with some channeling and then I will shuffle these cards for you. Group number 1. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 1, the people who will choose group number 1? What do people like about group number 1? I feel like people see you as someone who's very good with words, good with languages, that you have a way with words that really captivates people. Like you have a way of maybe also doing jokes on words, like play on words, and also just that you're a very lyrical person. Every time you talk, it's like a poem. Like you really get people's attention when you talk, because you just have a way of just using rhetoric to get people's attention. And yeah, I feel like people really enjoy reading what you write, like when you write text messages or if you write posts on social media. I think people really enjoy reading your short stories, or like if you write some posts about your everyday life or thoughts that you have during the day or something. If you post that online, I think people really enjoy reading that, and they like the way you express yourself with words, express your feelings, and yeah. Ten of Cups reversed. I think people like that you're someone who doesn't get too caught up with like facts, or like I know that sounds bad, but I think like when you tell a story, you don't get too caught up with the details. Like you might, like some people might ruin a story because they start adding a lot of unimportant details to the story and get the story to become really long because they just keep adding extra and extra and extra. But you have a way of telling a story with the perfect amount of details without it being too much. And yeah, I think people just really enjoy your storytelling abilities. Also with Ten of Cups, I think people really like that you that you don't follow the norms, like you don't let these like unsaid rules rule your life. Like you say whatever's on your mind. You don't keep anything to yourself just because you feel like, oh, that's the right thing to do or the correct thing to do. I think you are a very direct person, and you don't limit yourself when you tell a story. For instance, you don't keep certain details away from the story just because they are too like personal or intimate, or like you tell it like it is. Like you're not afraid of getting dirty with it. You're not afraid of adding things that some people would leave out. Like I also feel like you are the type of person who would tell an embarrassing story about yourself without like keeping the embarrassing parts out of it. Like you leave the details in that other people would probably have left out because of shame or embarrassment or something like that. But you like to be direct. You like to tell things, intimate things, maybe because it's funny, maybe because like it's like, yeah, it's also like very light, and I feel like people get that sense from you, that you're a very light person, very like you're the type of person who doesn't take yourself too seriously. You like to kind of make jokes about yourself and tell stories about yourself that might not paint you in a very flattering light, but it paints you in a real light, an authentic light, and gives people a very good sense of who you actually are, instead of some kind of painted picture, like some kind of perfect picture. And yeah, I'm gonna shuffle some more cards about what people like about you. Group number 1. Okay, 9 of Cups. I think people like that you're a very optimistic person. You don't get too caught up with like small details that other people get too caught up with. Like if you want to do something, you don't want people to be naysayers and say like, oh, but what about this and what about that? Like you're the type of person who just wants to live life and get the most out of it, and then like do things spontaneously and then think about all the details later, because I think you have learned from experience that there's really no issues are so big that they can't be solved along the way. Like you don't have to have everything solved right away, like before you go. Like if you go on a trip or something, like you don't have to have all things sorted out beforehand. Sometimes it's just as efficient to just go and then just take every like problem that comes along the way and just solve them when they come. And in a way it's also more time efficient to do it this way, because sometimes we plan ahead and we start planning for the worst case scenarios and do things in order to prevent problems from happening that might not even happen at all. And so we just waste time trying to solve imaginary problems that don't happen. And so I think that is why people like that about you, that you are good at being spontaneous, you're good at doing things without having them all figured out first, but you're good at solving problems along the way. So it's like, it makes sense. Like, yeah. I'm gonna shuffle some more. I'm gonna shuffle some archetype cards, actually, to see what people like about you. Group number 1. What do people like about group number 1? What do people like? Poet! Okay, so yeah, people see you as a poet. Very fitting, great. So the light attribute, it says, expresses soul insights in symbolic language. So people really enjoy your writing, your way of using the language, your way of expressing yourself through words, and through symbolic language, using symbols, using maybe also comparisons. Like when you talk, you might compare things to other things. Like when you try to explain something, you might compare it to something else, something similar. Like if you're trying to explain a concept to someone that's maybe a bit complicated, you might come up with a metaphor, like, oh, like if you explain something like physics, like something about eons, or like, I don't know, you might be able to like compare it to, oh, like the fox and the what's like some kind of, so I don't know, the fox and the like the fable, some kind of fable where there's a fox and there's something else, and it kind of like, you can kind of tell that they mimic what atoms do when they get together or something. Like it's just a way of explaining the atoms, I think. I don't really know though. I don't, but you might be good at finding something that resembles something else in order to explain something. So comparing fables to atoms, like using fables to explain atoms, or using something like a sandbox to explain the universe, or the stars, or something, like using something smaller to explain something bigger, so that people have a better sense of the scale, or of the actions, or the something, I don't know. And people just like the way you explain things. They like to ask you questions because the way you explain is very, like, it's very soft and very approachable, and like people feel like, oh, now I get it when you explain it, because you have a way with words, you have a way of making things more tangible, more like hands-on in some way. Like people feel like, oh, now they can grab onto it, now it's more clear. So yeah, you might also have a very good way of expressing feelings in a way where people feel like, oh, now you've expressed something that has been hidden inside of me, but now it's kind of come out because you've made it more, like, more approachable in some way. Like, yeah. So I feel like people just really like to listen to you talk. There's something also therapeutic about the way you like speak to people. Like, I feel like you have a way of making people open up to you, and people just want to tell you stuff because there's just something about the way you approach people when you talk to people. Like, you might talk to people, like when you meet someone, you might tell them a story about yourself, maybe something very intimate and personal, and people feel like, wow, okay, this is a stranger who's saying these very personal things to me, and it's making me feel a certain way, I don't know. And it makes them want to open up to you at the same level as you just did to them. Like, they feel like they owe you something. Like, now they need to also tell you something equally as personal and intimate. And in that way, you make people open up and make people talk about very complex feelings that they might not have talked to anybody about. And so I think people really go, like, when they have talked to you, they walk away from the conversation afterwards, like when it's done, you know, not in the middle of the conversation, but when it's done, they walk away with a feeling of having like some burden lifted off their shoulders, like they've really gotten something out that needed to get out, like some feelings that were trapped inside. Now it's out there, and it's more approachable, and it's just like, yeah, I feel like people walk away with a very good feeling, and also a feeling of being heard, like that you heard them, that you saw them for who they were, and that they actually felt very seen by you. And so, yeah. So I think people just really like that about you. They see you as a therapist in a way where they feel like you've done just as much for them as their many years of therapy has done for them. So like one conversation with you equals 10 years of therapy. And some, like, I know that's maybe a bit excessive, but like maybe a few times of therapy, but like still that they feel like you have unraveled something that their own therapist couldn't unravel. So there's something you can do, like you have some gift of making people open up and make people talk about their feelings, and you do it mostly because like you're so good at doing it. So people mimic your energy. People want to get on the same wavelength as you, and so they try to match up with you. And while doing that, while trying to match up with your energy, they end up actually unraveling a lot of truths that they didn't really know were there, like hiding inside their mind. So yeah. And with Nine of Cups, I'm gonna go back to Nine of Cups. Like, I think people see you as someone who has a lot of experience. Like, you've tried so much, like you've done so many things in your life, and maybe you have also a lot of experience, like traumatic experience or things that you've experienced in your life that might not have been like easy. Is not easy. So maybe you had a traumatic childhood, or maybe you have been through some bad relationships or bad breakups or bad periods of your life where you were very down, or where things happened that were really unfair. And I think you have a lot of baggage. And I think the thing is that the thing people like is that you have a way of taking this baggage and actually turning it into a superpower in some way, where you're actually using your baggage to make other people open up. Like you talk so freely about what you've been through, what you've experienced, that people want to share with you. People feel like they can share their own traumatic experiences with you because they know you understand them, because they know you've been through something similar, and so they feel like it's a safe space. Like they know that if they open up to you about their own traumatic experiences, you're not going to look at them and be like, that's horrible. Like, yeah, I think you will tell them that it's horrible what they've been through, but they know that you're not going to look at them and judge them or look at them with like disbelief or feel pity for them, even though yes, you're gonna feel pity and you're gonna show empathy. But it's like, I think many of the people that you have talked to, many of them have told their traumatic, or some of them have told their traumatic experiences to some of their friends, and they reacted in a not very supportive way, where it's more like either they didn't believe them or they might have acted really awkwardly because they didn't know what to say because it's so much or something. But they know that when they talk to you, you're gonna believe them because you've been through something similar, so you don't have any reason to not believe what they say. But also because like you've been there, so you're not gonna be like shocked by it, you're not gonna be like disgusted by it, you're not gonna be judging them or making them feel like they are like completely damaged and broken, and that you are gonna look differently at them after they tell you this. Like, and I feel like some of them might have lost some friends by telling them their story, because afterwards they started acting really differently towards them. But I feel like people know that you don't treat them any differently just because they've told you these things. Like, you're very, just always very natural and genuine towards people, and you don't try to fake anything, and you're very direct. And if you feel some kind of awkwardness between you and someone else, you're very good at expressing it and making it not awkward, because you kind of address it and like start a conversation about it instead of just being awkward about it and like not addressing it. So I think your communication skills are really, really good. Like, and the people really like that you talk about everything. You don't keep any leaves unturned. Like, you turn every leaf, and you don't, like, there's every time, like, you're also very socially intelligent. Like, you can tell if something is off, if something's not right, and you're good at like trying to figure out what it is and trying to like find the source of the awkwardness or the source of the strange vibration that's going on. And yeah, and people really like that. People like talking to you, and yeah, some people even feel like they should pay you, because like you should get money for it. Like, you're having these awesome conversations with people that people really feel like they should be on the clock with you. Like, you should get paid sometimes, like when you give awesome advice and when you're like giving people these therapy sessions for free. Like, they feel like they are kind of taking advantage in a way, like that. but they just know that you're such a lovely soul and you would never want any compensation, and people just like that you're so giving and generous with your time, and yeah, so yeah, that's what people like about you. I'm sure there's probably more that people like about you, but this is what they really, really like about you. So yeah, that's what I have for you, group number 1. I hope this reading was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe to my channel, and if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one, and have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 2. You chose this Tarot de Marseille tarot deck, and I will start with some channeling, and then I will shuffle these cards for you. And yeah, I'm gonna do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 2, the people who will choose group number 2? What do people like about group number 2? I'm sensing that people really like that you're very caring and very thoughtful. Like you're very empathetic, and you don't do anything without thinking it through, and you don't say anything without thinking it through first, and it comes out very empathetic to people because you're never trying to offend anyone, and you always think about what you say so that you don't end up saying something that could potentially hurt someone. And so people see you as very very careful, but also just very caring, but to the point where it kind of like there's a bit of a balance here, where sometimes you come off as very caring, and sometimes you come off as a bit too careful, that you're being a bit too calculated, or not calculated in that way, but where it's coming off as very overly cautious, that you're very cautious with your words, and so people might think you need to loosen up a bit sometimes, that it's not the end of the world if you say something hurtful or say something that can be misunderstood or something. Like, it's not the end of the world, but people can also tell that, like, if you accidentally say something hurtful or something that could be misunderstood as hurtful, you get really, really upset about it, and you get really hard on yourself, and people like that about you because it shows that you're very caring, and you really care about people, and to a point where it breaks your heart if you hurt someone. Like, and people really like that. That you're very kind and sweet and nice. But I'm gonna shuffle and see what the cards have to say about what people like about you, group number 2. Okay, with the Hermit, people really like that you're introspective. You really go deep inside yourself, and like, if you do something wrong, you're very good at admitting that you're wrong. You're very good at looking deep into your soul and figuring out, like, what made you do it, or what's the psychological explanation for it. Like you're good at looking back and like figuring out like where the mistake happened, why it happened, and how you can prevent it from happening in the future. But sometimes you're very hard on yourself, and that's like the other side of the coin. Like people like this about you, that you're so introspective, but they also think you're a bit too hard on yourself, that you need to give yourself a break sometimes. That sometimes it would be a good look on you to maybe be a bit unapologetic, like just say like, fuck it, I did that, and that, so what? Like that maybe I feel like some people would like to see a more relaxed version of you, one that's not so stiff, one that's not so focused on doing the right thing, the correct thing. But they like that you care so much, and that you also are so focused on self-development, that you're so focused on being the best version of yourself and becoming the best version of yourself. But people also feel like this is maybe not the best endeavor for you, because you were hard on yourself before you started your self-development journey. Now it might have escalated a little bit. I know this was supposed to be a very positive reading, and it is, but I feel like people just want you to stop being so hard on yourself, that it's killing you, that you're so focused on being the perfect version of yourself that like you're burning yourself out. And sometimes it's okay to be mediocre, and it's okay to be first of all, this could have something to do with your career or your studies, that people feel like you're taking it too seriously, and that you're like trying to do something that's almost unimpossible, like it's like or impossible. I mean, that you're trying to do something very very difficult, something very ambitious, and people just feel like you need to put the ambition level a bit lower, just because it's killing you to kind of try to reach this high point. And I feel like also the Hermit is Virgo. It represents Virgo, and so I think you might have some Virgo energy in you. Maybe you have Virgo in your chart, but I feel like people see you as a perfectionist, and they like that about you, like especially people who are teaming up with you, like at work or in school. They really like this Virgo energy, because it's like you always perform perfectly, and you make sure that everything is on point, everything is like ready, everything is completely as it has to be, up to like the smallest details, like you get everything right. And it's because you double check and you triple check and you and this people like that. Some people really like it, especially teachers in your school or your boss or people who really benefit from you actually being perfectionistic really like that about you. But your friends and family might feel like this is not good for you personally, that you need to take a step back and maybe relax a bit and maybe make some mistakes and try and go with it and not correct them and just accept that it's wrong and move on. Like that you need to kind of exercise being more carefree and yeah, try to get maybe the perfectionism under control, where it's not getting too, like, taking too much control over you. So, but what do people like about group number 2? Seven of Pentacles. So people, I think people like that that you're a hard worker, that you perform very well, you always do the greatest effort. You don't do anything unless you do it 100%. Like you don't, like, you always make sure that everything is 100%. And people like that about you. But it's mostly the people who benefit from this. But it's like, I think some of your friends, like, they see some good in this, because I feel like some of your friends and family members, they like this because you make an effort in your personal relationships as well. Like with your friendships, you make them work. Sometimes you might even feel like you're the only one making an effort to make the friendships run smoothly. Like you're the only one, like, addressing the problems when they come. Like you're the only one trying to solve the issues that you have with some of your friends. That you are perfecting the relationships, and the friendships, and like you're. And I think your friends really like that you put in the effort. It shows that you care. It shows that you care enough to make it work. And it's like they know that you enjoy the friendship, because they know that if you didn't, you wouldn't make this big an effort. And so they like that. They like to have that kind of validation from you, that you're actually prepared to put in the work. But I feel like there's also this thing about priorities, where sometimes you might have a hard time prioritizing everything you do, like, because you want to do everything 100%. You end up either burned out, or you try really hard to do everything 100% perfection, to perfection, but then you might fail to do that if you don't prioritize. And so I think you have a hard time prioritizing sometimes. And so maybe sometimes when you're very, very busy at work or at your studies, you might kind of neglect some of your friendships. But but I feel like you always make up for it. Like you always, like when you have the time, you make up for it. Like you never really slack off. Like every time you have a moment for yourself, you use that moment to fix some loose ends. Like so I feel like you always make up for not prioritizing your friends over your work or your family over your work. You always make up for it in some way, or like and they like that. People like that you make an effort. You clearly make an effort, but I also feel like some people in your life would want you to kind of focus on, like, I think some people feel like they just want more of you. Like they want to see you more, and they want to see you more in a more frequent way. Like that some people feel like they see sometimes like you're very much there, like you're very available to them. If in a short period of time you're very, very available, and then the period after that is maybe very unavailable, and then like it might come in cycles where sometimes you're very, very active, and then you get passive, and then you get active again, and then you get passive. And it's like it's like people would rather want you to be like half and half, like that you're giving them 50% of activity, but throughout the plate, or throughout the, like, that it's always gonna, like, that it's always the same frequency, instead of these ups and downs. But people do really like that you put in the effort when you are there, like when you're very much 100% there. And you are always that, because if you're not 100% there, you're 0% there, like then you're absent, because you don't say yes to anything unless you know you can give 100% of yourself to it. And yeah, but I'm gonna shuffle some more cards. So with 6 of Wands, very positive. So people see you as, like, people put you up on a pedestal. People see you as someone who is very likely gonna go far in life. Very likely gonna become a leader of some kind. People see you as someone who could start something, like be a first mover, start a company, or start a movement, or like start a political party or something like that. Like people see you as someone who is likely gonna start something big in the future. And people want to kind of be, like, people want to be on board with it, because they know that, like, if you started something, you're gonna be 100% working at it, and you're not gonna finish it until it's perfect. So they know it, like if you start a project, they need to be on board with it. They need to get a piece of it because it is going to be a success, because you're not going to stop until it's a success. And so people see you as someone who's very likely going to be successful in the future. If you're not already successful, you could likely already be successful. So but people see you like, and people really like that about you, that you're someone they look up to. People want to be like you. People want to have that stamina that you have, like that you just keep going. You just you have this like workaholic thing where you just keep working everything until it's perfect, and many people are jealous of that. Because they feel like they are doing small projects here and there and not really succeeding at anything, because they don't have the same work ethic as you do. And so people look at you and want to be like you. They want to have that perfectionism that you have. They see it as kind of a superpower, because you have you have an eye for details, and you're not lazy. You're the opposite of that, and you keep going. You do everything, you do things all the time. And like you never sit still, and you never just do nothing. Like you're always doing something efficient. Like you might be the type of person who's like if you watch television or something like that, you might do something while doing it. Like you might be knitting or something while watching the telly, because then you feel like you're actually doing something efficient while doing something indulgent, or like something that feels like it feels selfish, or like, I don't know if you resonate with this, but I feel like that's how people see you. They see you as someone who's very efficient, always doing more than one thing at once, because you're constantly being like the most efficient that you can be, like possibly be, and you're like, people see you as like the opposite of the fool. Like you're very thoughtful. You always think things through. You always have everything under control, everything planned ahead, everything in schedule, organized, and people like that about you, because they know they can come to you and ask you for help, like because you always have and people can always come to you for answers, because you know a lot. You have a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. You pay attention to the details. Like if you're at work and you're at a presentation, or like someone gives you an order at work, or maybe your team gets an order from someone higher up in the hierarchy, you might be the only one who actually gets the order right, because you hear what's being, like you hear every word that's being said, and you can like memorize it and give it back to the other people in the team, like people teaming up with you, like because maybe you have some photographic memory or something, because I feel like people people just come to you if they aren't sure they have all the details right, or if they heard that right, or like they ask you to like, that's not photographic memory, like that's more like phonetic memory, or like narrative memory, or something like, I don't know, but you might be very good at memorizing what people say to you, or something like that. And I think people really like that you have everything memorized, and that they can ask you if they've forgotten something, and maybe also like people like that you have like small details memorized about them. Like if you have a conversation with people and they tell you about something from their life, like that they have to go to the vet with their pet, or if they have to get their car checked out or the engine checked or something, then and they tell that to you and are worried about it or something, and ask you for advice about it, or maybe just tell you it for small talk or something, then people really like that. Like a week later, you ask them about it, like how did it go at the vet, or how did it go with the mechanic? Did you get did you pay full price, or did you get a discount, or like you remember these details from conversation that you have had with people, and you bring them up, and people really feel very good when you do that, because they can tell that you care. They can tell that you actually listened and have personal information about them memorized in your mind, and it makes them feel like very seen and very much like they are a part of your life, like, and that you actually see them as a part of your life, because if they weren't, you wouldn't have this space in your mind occupied with information about them or something. I don't know, but yeah, but people really like that. People feel like you truly care about them, and people feel like you truly care about everything. And maybe sometimes people feel like you care so much about everything that it kind of loses its meaning that you care about them too, because they feel like, oh, they are just one of many things that you care deeply about. So they might feel like you're not giving them special treatment because you care about everyone. But I don't know, sometimes people feel like you're not giving them special treatment, that they don't really know if you actually, like, I feel like there are some people who don't know if you have feelings for them, because they feel like you're just being nice to everyone, so they don't know if they are misunderstanding the signals that they get from you, because they don't know if you're flirting with them or just being very nice. And so I think that's a common misconception that people have about you, that they think you're flirting because you're being so caring and so kind and sweet and so thoughtful, and you do small things for people, thoughtful actions that make people feel like, oh, you wouldn't just do that for a friend. But I think you do. I think you do that for friends. So yeah. But I think that's all I have for you, group number 2. I hope this reading was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe to my channel, and if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one, and have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 3. You chose this, the Cook's Tarot deck, and I will start with some channeling, and then I will shuffle these cards for you, group number 3. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 3, the people who will choose group number 3? What do people like about group number 3? Group number 3. I feel like people see you as very rhythmical, like maybe you're a very good dancer, or you might just have something about your mannerisms, or like the way you present yourself, like it's very fluid, or very like you might have very sophisticated, elegant motions, ways that you gesture with your hands, or with your body, like body language. Your body language might be very it's very elegant, and people really like that. People like the way that you present yourself. It gives off like a bit of a Marilyn Monroe kind of energy. Like people see you as very expressive, also with your face. I think like you don't really have to say much. People can tell your like what you think from your facial expressions. Like you express a lot with your face, and maybe even more than with your words. Like even though you might talk a lot, but it's like people read more out of your face and your body language. So people really like also like your energy, your vibration. Like there's something about like you light up a room, like you make people feel comfortable. And you make people happy, I think. Like when you walk into a room, people get very excited about you being there. So I'm gonna shuffle and see what the cards have to say. But I'm also getting something about music, and I don't know if you have a very good voice or a good singing voice, but also maybe just your speaking voice might be very pleasant to listen to. And people might assume that you're very good at singing because of the way your speaking voice sounds like. But I also feel like people might have heard you sing. A lot of people might have heard you sing, and so I feel like people see you as someone who has a good gift, that you've been gifted with a very good singing voice or dancing talent. I'm not, like, I feel like it's a bit split here. Like, I feel like half of you or something like that are like very good singers, and the other half of you are very good dancers. And but I feel like there's something, like, people just can tell right away that you're a very musical being. And maybe you also wear your headphones a lot, like when you're out walking, or so maybe people know that you listen to music a lot because you have your headphones or your what's it called, the ear plugs, or the thingies in your ears all the time, and so maybe people just assume that you're very into music because you're always listening to music. So but people really like that about you. People find that very interesting. People might also feel like you have a very good, or people might think, because they know that you have a very good good taste in music. Of course, that's subjective, but like I think people have heard your playlists or the music that you have been listening to, and or maybe you wear band shirts, like shirts with certain bands or certain singers or something, and so you might show that to people that you're into that band or you're into this singer, and so they know that you're. They know your. I feel like many people know your taste in music, and they really like it that you're into this type of music, that you have a good taste in music. So with the Knight of Wands reversed, I think people see you as someone who's very like you might be a bit like you might be a blend of extrovert and introvert. Like sometimes people feel like you're very extroverted and very social, and then sometimes they feel like you're very closed off and maybe a bit aloof and like a bit standoffish. And so I think people see you as someone who has like a double side to you, a duality to you, where they don't really know who you are on a core level, because they don't really know which version of you is the authentic one, or maybe they know that both of these versions are, but I think some people don't really know which one is the right you, even though both of these sides of you are you. It's just two different sides of you, and you could be a Gemini or you could be a Scorpio, but I feel like there's you have two sides. They are not battling each other, they just coexist, and sometimes you like to be social and get out and be extroverted and talk to people and be a social butterfly and be out there and dancing and singing and partying. And then sometimes you like to be just you and be alone and sit alone and listen to your music and have no one bothering you, because that's just also you sometimes. And maybe it's also because you need these two sides in order to have them both exist. Like in order to be social, you need to have this time to relax and save up your batteries so that you can become social again. And so, but people feel a bit like, people like this about you because it's like it keeps them a bit on their feet. Like they never really know which version of you they're gonna get. And people like that you have, like I feel like many people, like they see you at a party and they are like, oh, she's so fun and she's so like yeah, fun and interesting and like social and outgoing, and then they meet you when you're sober or when you have your introvert period, and I feel like people see like, oh, there's a deep side of you, like there's this mysterious side of you, this darkness that they didn't see before because they only saw the light before, and now they see the darkness, and they kind of feel a bit intrigued by this because it gives you a depth. It gives you depth to your personality that you have these two sides. So yeah, I think people see you as a very deep person, very like, yeah, there is a mystery to you. It's very interesting. So with Page of Wands, I think people like that you're original. You have very unique ideas. You're very good at coming up with new things, like new ideas, things that have never been done before. Like I think you're also very good at thinking in possibilities. Like you're good at like brainstorming. Like when you meet someone, maybe when you meet a stranger, like someone you've never met before, you have a conversation with them, and they might tell you, oh, they are good at singing, or that they are very interested in science or something, or and it's just a lot of random information, but you pull all these informations together and come up with some great idea for them. Like, oh, you should make a YouTube channel where you sing about science, or like you should do something, and like you're just good at like finding some kind of gimmick for people, like something that they could monetize, and people really like that. People like that you just brainstorm ideas for them, like business ideas, things they could be doing to make a profit. And yeah, people get really excited when you do that because they get riled up, like they get to your energy, like your wavelength of just entrepreneurial, innovative thinking, where they feel like it's very fun, like and they also feel very flattered because it really shows that you're interested in them, you care, like you really want them to succeed, and you're out there giving them like business advice and doing it for free. And it's kind of like I think some people feel like some people misunderstand this as flirting, because they feel like, oh, no one would be so interested if they weren't sexually interested, like that you can't just be that great of a person that you give off this kind of great advice just for free. So some people might misinterpret your intentions and feel like you're flirting with them, but I feel like you also just have a very flirty personality, that like there's something about your energy. It comes across as very very luring, very tempting. Like people fall in, like you have a very sexy energy. It's very sexy. And people fall in love with you quite easily, I think. You could also be a Libra, but it doesn't matter what sign you are. But like, I'm just sensing like a very sexy energy, a very and people like that about you. People like to fall in love with you. People like that you're like a bit of a fantasy for them. Like they know it's never gonna come true though. Like there is something also a bit like intimidating about you, because it's like you are this dream that many people have. Like they have a dream of like being with you, but they know it's far off, like it's far-fetched. So like they know it's like, but this kind of makes it even more exciting to think about, like to dream about, because sometimes it's even more alluring to think about something that will never come true. So it's like, yeah, sometimes the realistic part kind of ruins the magic. So, but I'm gonna shuffle some more cards. I'm gonna go with the archetype cards just to kind of see what people, like a bit more specific about what people like about you. Group number 3. What do people like about group number 3? What do people like about group number 3? Okay, Midas Miser. It says entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold, delight in sharing life's riches. So that's what people really like about you. People like that you turn everything to gold. You have an entrepreneurial like sense, that like you have this business sense, business mind. You're very innovative. You're very good at thinking about ways to make a profit. You're good at brainstorming ideas for businesses, small businesses, or inventions, things that could like something like that, and turn it to gold, turn anything to gold. And like, so yeah, people like that you just seem to have a natural way of, like a natural business mind. Like it's like you're born with it, like it's something you're born to do, like you're born to be a consultant, or like someone who like headhunts people, like finds like sees potential in people. Like you could work at a model agency and like walk in the streets and find like the next supermodel, because you have that way of just seeing potential in people, like seeing what can be, like what can like I think you have a good vision. Like you could be a psychic, because I'm sensing that you have a very good way of envisioning what people can do. Like when you talk to people, you see it in front of you. You see their future in front of you. You see how they can become a success if they do this or if they do that. And so it's kind of easy for you to give people advice about their career. And so, yeah. And yeah, I think, yeah. And so people like that. People like how you have a clear vision about their future. They like that you advise them, that they feel like when they talk to you, you're giving them holy advice, like advice coming from somewhere that, like somewhere higher, because it's like it resonates so much with them. It just makes sense to them, and like it makes them feel very seen by you, like you see their full potential. And yeah, people really like that about you. So, and people also see you as someone who's gonna make a lot of success yourself, like, because you have like this gift of like seeing the future. So people just assume that you're gonna have like success and riches in the future, like you're gonna turn things to gold, you're gonna make it. And yeah, so yeah, I think that's what people really like about you, group number 3. I hope this reading was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one. And have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 4. You chose the Mops Tarot, and I will start with some channeling, and then I will shuffle these cards for you. Group number 4, so I'm gonna do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 4, the people who will choose group number 4? Group number 4. What do people like about group number 4? I feel like people see you as very heavenly, like angelic, like there's something about you that is like outer worldly or otherworldly or something like that, where it's like you come from a different planet, alien-like, but also angelic, like heavenly. There's something where people see you as a very mystical being. There's some, you might be very spiritual and have a lot of like spiritual interests. You might do a lot of things as a hobby that has to do with spirituality. You might meditate and do yoga and do like a lot of other type of practices where you practice religion or practice spirituality. You might do tarot, read tarot, you might read tarot cards, and or you might be into zodiac signs or other types of like rituals, going to like meeting up with spiritual people, doing rituals together, doing meditations, like collective meditations with people, or collective readings where you go together with a lot of other readers and do readings with them. And I feel like people really like how you seem to have just embraced your spirituality. Like you seem so open to so many different practices. Like you're very tolerant and very open and very non-judgmental, because it seems like you really just let everything in and you try out everything. Like you don't, you're open to trying new things and humoring new concepts, new ideas. Like you might also be very open-minded when it comes to religion, different religions, looking into Hinduism, looking into Christianity, but also Islam and different tribal religions, smaller religions that might not have gotten a lot of media attention, but that are really interesting also. And I think people really like that you're so into all of this, that you're embracing all of this, and you're embracing your openness to everything. And that you're not limiting yourself to one belief, that you're really just playing around with different concepts, different things. You always seem to be invested in something new every time people talk to you. Like it's like you seem to be like invested in something new, something that you weren't invested in like the last time they talked to you. So it's like every time people talk to you, they are being like bombarded with like some new concept that they've never heard of, and it's very interesting and fascinating to people, especially people outside the spiritual world, like they or the spiritual community. Like they come to you and they feel like, oh, that's really interesting, and like they mean it genuinely, and feel like you're always like there's also some, like it's very intelligent as well. Like you do your research. Like you never do something without doing the research for it. Like you don't learn it on a superficial level, on like a surface level. Like you dive into it, and you really dive deep into it, and you learn everything about it. Like before you talk about it, you have everything researched, and like it's, and people like that. People like that you always come prepared. Like you don't half-ass anything. Like it's very with the devil, you might be a Capricorn, but if you're not, like I think people like that you are into some, maybe like sometimes you might be into some a bit borderline problematic things. Like maybe some people find tarot a bit too dark or something like that. Or maybe you are into some magic, and some people might feel like, ooh, that's a border you shouldn't cross, or oh, that's a bit naughty or something. Like I don't know. And people like it. People like that it's a bit naughty. You might also be into voodoo dolls or something like that, and people feel like, oh, that's a bit scary, but also a bit interesting, and so they like it. They like that. Sometimes they don't really know what to expect from you, because it's like always a new thing, and it's always kind of scary, but also fun. It's also fun. So with the King of King of Wands, with King of Wands, I think people see you as very respectable. Like people, even though you're into all of these things, people have a very deep respect for your opinion and your point of view. Like people might look at the things that you believe in as a bit wacky, but they respect your take on it. Like when you talk about it, they pay attention. Like they pay attention to you talking about it, but they might be a bit biased here, because like they listen to you, but if it was the same person, like if it was a different person talking about the same thing, they probably wouldn't listen to that person as much as they listen to you, because there's just something about you that's very respectable, something that like demands respect from people, and people just like want to listen to you explain whatever, like whatever you're into, like they want to listen to it, because there's something about you that's very, I want to say, likable. Like people like you, but they also respect you. They have a bit of like, there's just like, you're not annoying. And some people in the spiritual community, I'm probably one of them, but like they come across as a bit annoying sometimes, and you're not annoying. So you have that going for you. People really like that about you, that you're not annoying, and when you talk about something even a bit wacky, like unicorns or dragons or something like that, like yeah, people listen to you and find it interesting and find it fascinating and really respect you for talking about these topics. But if a woman, you might be a woman. I'm getting a lot of male energy here, though. But some of you might be women as well. So, but if another type of woman than you, or if you are a male, then this kind of is probably a sexist thing where people listen to you because you're a male and find it interesting. But if it was a female talking about the same thing, they would kind of find it a bit annoying and a bit wacky and a bit like, you know. But because it's you, you kind of get away with it, and people even respect you for it. And so there is something like that going on where, I don't know, maybe you are a female, and so maybe it's just something about your energy that's very, very respectable, very, like, yeah, different, very different from other people in the spiritual community, or like, I don't know. I'm going to shuffle some more cards about what people like about you. Group number 4. So with six of swords, I think people might see you as someone who's like, people like that you are. I feel like this is more your close friends, your family and close friends. I think they see you as a ride or die type of person. Like, you're very invested in your close friendships. You're very present and very good at being generous with your time and giving them a lot of your energy. And like, I think they really like that you invest in them, or that you invest your time in them, and you don't put limitations on them. You don't tell them that they shouldn't call you in the middle of the night if they are in trouble. You give them a safe space where you make the people around you very comfortable, and they know that they can get a hold of you if they need you, even if it's in the middle of the night. And so I think you make yourself available to the people close to you, and I think they really they are really grateful. I think there are a few of your friends, like I feel like you have maybe a few close friends, and then you have a lot of like more like not so close friends, but you have like this maybe small group of very close friends, and I feel like you would die for these people. Like you would do anything for them, and they know that they can always count on you, and they are very grateful to have you as a friend. But then again, I feel like there might be some friends who actually consider themselves as close friends to you, but maybe you don't feel the same way, and they might feel like you're not giving them the same attention as you're giving your closest friends, and so there might be some people who feel a bit left out, but I feel like you prioritize very well, and I think you're doing the right thing by choosing to put your energy on the people that are close to you, that you know would do the same for you, and prioritizing them. So I think your priorities are good. So yeah, people like that you're a servant. The card says delight in serving others with a free and loving heart, and so I think people like that, especially the people close to you. They like that you're so like you do things for them and you don't expect things in return. You're very available to them. You like serving them, but I also feel like this could be something you do for a living, like something you do as a job where you help people, and I think the people that you help see you as like they like the fact that you serve them with a free and loving heart, like you're so wholeheartedly in it, and you give everyone a feeling of you actually caring for them, and caring about them, so I think you're a very good listener, and I think people really like that about you, that you listen to them, and you give good advice, and yeah, and people listen to your advice. Like people don't ignore your advice because you have this respectful or respectable thing about you, honorable energy. Like people go to you for advice and they actually listen and they actually put it into practice because they trust you, they trust your advice, they trust that you have like the right end of the coin or whatever, like yeah. So people really like you. People feel like you're also like you broaden their horizon. You make them like you're always talking about these interesting concepts, interesting things that they don't know about, and they feel like you're this source of like strange information that they didn't know they needed, but they are here for it. Like they are into it, but they are just mostly into it because you're into it. So like I think it's not like I feel like the things that you talk about, like it's not people's favorite topic, but it's like people are there for, like people are really paying attention to it anyways and really listening to you talk about these things because they just like hearing you talk about things you're passionate about, because it makes them feel joy to see you joyful about it. Like, so yeah. And it's interesting, like they find it interesting when you tell it, like when you talk about it, when you explain it, they find it interesting. So yeah, and they find it really original, like they see you as someone who has a very original mind, very, very like outside the box thinking, and I think people are really, really into it. So yeah. But that's all I have for you, group number 4. I hope this reading was helpful. And if it was, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one. And have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 5. You chose this Tarot of a Moon Garden tarot deck. And I will start with some channeling, and then I will shuffle these cards for you. Group number 5. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 5, the people who will choose group number 5? What do people like about group number 5? What do people like about them? Okay, so people like that you're very sensible, like you're strangely accurate about everything. Like when people talk to you, you just speak truth, and you speak facts, and like people just feel like you're always strangely correct about everything, and you always have correct knowledge about everything. And you just seem to know everything. And it's like people really like to come to you and ask you a question, because they always know they are going to get the right answer. And also just because you're very sensible, you're very logical and rational. Like whenever people come to you with like matters of the heart, or like things where like very complicated emotions are involved, you're very good at like making sense of it all, like just making it reasonable, like painting a more tangible picture that people can really grab onto and feel like, okay, oh, so this is how it is. Okay, so now I get it. Like, and people really like the way you're just spitting truth in a very very tangible way. People feel like they walk away from a conversation with you, like when the conversation is over, they walk away and they feel like everything makes sense now. It makes perfect sense now. They were confused before, but after talking to you, the confusion is gone. Now they can see things clearly. So you have a gift of just making sense of things, even things that don't really make sense. And you can kind of make sense of it, like, and navigate through it and kind of collect the dots and connect the dots. I mean, like, and make it make sense, basically. So people really like that about you. People like that you have common sense. You're rational-minded, and you seem to know everything, but without being a know-it-all. Like you just seem to possess all this knowledge, but you're not being braggy about it. Like you're not like, you don't have like an inflated ego. Like you seem to be very very good at being humble about it. And with the Emperor, like you have this way of just being very like honorable, respectable. You don't get overly emotional about things. You see things very clearly, maybe because you are good at keeping the emotions out of it, like not getting too sensitive about things, not getting too emotional, not letting feelings not letting feelings cloud your judgment. And so you see things more clearly. Like you also might be very good at seeing how to fix things. Like when people come to you with problems, you find solutions to the problems, and you know what needs to be done, and you can come up with like very concrete advice that people can follow, and then everything should be sorted out. So I feel like people might not come to you for like emotional support, even though I think you could be good at that too. But I think people might see you as more like the type of person the dad. Not that I know I don't know your gender. You could be a female, but you could still be the dad, even though you're a female, because it's more like a dad energy. Some people just have it. Some people have this dad personality where people come to them for advice, but they turn to their mother for emotional support. But when it's like, I don't know, but I think people come to you more for advice, clear advice, concrete advice. They come to you because they know you're gonna tell the truth. You're gonna say it like it is, and you're not gonna sugarcoat anything. You're gonna give them exactly what they need to hear, and they know that it's gonna hurt a bit, that it's gonna sting, but they know they are gonna be better off when they've gotten this advice. Like it's gonna better them. It's gonna make them feel more clear about their actions, what they need to do, and how to fix their problems. So I think people like that about you. People like that you're a fixer, you're a problem solver, you have good solutions to everything, you're good at things that have to do with paperwork, like finding the right forms for things. Like when people come to you with a problem that has to do with legal stuff, you might be very good at finding the forms online that they need in order to file a report or do something at work. Like if they need a harassment report or something, that you're the one they turn to, because you know where the files are and where the forms are online, and you can just print them out, and you know the drill. It's like you know this stuff, and it's like, yeah. And so people come to you for information, for advice about things, like technical things, also, and people just see you as like this kind of a machine. Like you're a machine. Like you're, like they don't need Google because they can just ask you. With a world card, I think people see you as someone who's very experienced. Like you've experienced everything. Like it doesn't matter what topic they bring up. You always have experience with it. Like if someone comes and asks for legal advice, it seems like you have been through every legal case. Like you know the drill in every aspect of life. Like, you know what to do if you get in trouble with child support, or if you get in trouble with and even you might not even have a legal background, but you still know this stuff just because you've looked it up or something, or maybe you needed it at some point, or maybe you researched it for a friend or something. But it's like you always know, what to do. And people feel very comfortable around you. People feel very safe and secure because they know that if they get in trouble, they just call you and you'll fix it. You'll solve it, and it's gonna be out of their mind, because the problem is just gonna leave their mind because you're gonna take care of it. So people really rely on you and trust you with their problems, and also they see you as someone who's very knowledgeable about things like outside your local area. Like you watch the news, I feel like, and people see you as someone who watches the news. Like you always know what's going on in the world. Like you know what's going on in Ukraine, and you know what's going on in Brazil, and you know what's going on everywhere. And you seem to also have kind of insider knowledge about it. Like it's like you've been there. Like even though it's most likely just because you're very good at researching everything and reading not only one article about something, but reading multiple articles about the same thing just to get a clearer view of what's the truth, because you know that sometimes the media takes one narrative and goes with it without being completely following the facts. But then you can kind of compare the articles and find the truth by that sort of comparison, and by looking through different medias and maybe even different medias from different countries, how their take is on this news, and kind of forming a more nuanced opinion about it after reading different newspapers from different sides of the world or something. But yeah, people see you as very informed about things. You seem to always know what's any topic that people talk to you about. It seems like you already know everything about it. So people really see you as very smart. I'm gonna shuffle some of these archetype cards just to get a better, a more specific, view on what people like about you. People see you as a visionary. So it says, the card says, capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others, willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for personal gain. And so I think people might see you as a bit of a psychic, actually, because it seems like you know everything. People might think of you as claircognizant, because it just seems like you know things beforehand, and you can read people. You can when people ask you something, it's just and some people might feel like you don't the questions that they ask you, you shouldn't really have a like, you shouldn't know. Like, that sometimes it's so, sometimes they ask you something so specific where it's like, it's a bit creepy that you know, because it's so specific, so personal, maybe even, like, and somehow you know about it, and you know the solution, and you know you can give advice on it. And it's so, I think people see you as someone who's like a bit of a, like, yeah, visionary, someone who can who knows stuff. Maybe you even know things before they happen. Like, maybe you have done some, like, kind of prophetic like vision, like had prophetic visions that you have shared with people. Like maybe you kind of had foreseen that the pandemic happened, or like maybe you talked about it before it happened, or had some kind of vision about it before it happened. Or maybe you had a vision about the collapse of like the economy, like financial collapse or something in your country, or in another country, or something where you foresaw what would happen in a dream or in a vision, and talked about it. And I think people really like that about you, that it seems like you know things before they happen, and you talk about them, and like you make certain forecasts that seem to always be true. So yeah, and mostly, like, I feel like your forecasts, like, people might see them as psychic, but maybe you don't actually see it as psychic yourself. Maybe you see it as more like you just knowing things, or that it's based on information that you have calculated and made a bunch of research about. And so it's a calculated forecast. It's like forecasting the weather. Like, sometimes, like, it doesn't take a genius to know that, like, there's a financial bubble that's going to burst or something like that. And so maybe you might be so humble to that you just tell people, oh no, it's like, I'm not a psychic, I'm just a realist. I can tell by the information. I can tell the future by looking at the information that is available to us all. That and it should be obvious to everyone. And so maybe you do that sometimes, like where you talk yourself down a bit, or talk yourself up. It kind of it really depends on who you are. Like, if you see psychic abilities as kind of like beneath you, then I think you see yourself as like smarter than that. Or if you don't, then I think you're just being very humble and not wanting to come across as special, because you would rather just have a more like rational explanation for your forecasts and why they always end up being true. So but yeah, but I think people see you as someone who has more knowledge than the average person. You possess more information. You seem to have a very good memory, and yeah, and people just love to come to you for advice, because you always give very great advice. And people like to call you and like ask you about anything, like even ask you about mechanical stuff, like about their car or something, even though you're not a mechanic. But people just like they just take a leap of faith and call you because they just assume that you probably know, even though they don't even know that you know, but they just assume that you do because you know everything. So you probably also know things about cars and bikes and phones that you don't even have, or computers you have never owned, and like different brands of computers that you've never heard of, or like something that like, but it's not like you don't, you know, like people just assume you know, and it's fairly certain that you do actually know, like and people know that, and they learn that when they call you, that even when they call you about their computer that broke down, and you have a different computer and you've never actually worked with that particular kind of computer before, you still know how to fix it because you just always know how to fix things. And maybe you know how to fix a sink, even though you've never fixed a sink before, but you know that, oh, it's probably not that complicated. You just have to do this and that, and then it should be good. And like, it's like it kind of, like you see it in front of you, like you see the solution in front of you. So I feel like it is a psychic ability, because I feel like you can't just call it intelligence, because in order for it to just be intelligence, you should have the intelligence, like you have the intelligence, but like the informational flow, that meaning of the word intelligence, like the like, if you can give advice on something that you have no information about prior to the conversation, then I would say that it's likely that it's a psychic ability, instead of you just being very good at guessing what needs to be done, like or very good at like calculating with the information that you have about something similar, and then using that experience that you have with something similar to kind of add that onto that problem and solving that problem by using your experience with that. Yes, I guess that makes sense, but I'm gonna agree with some of the people around you that definitely believes you're a psychic more than you just being extremely smart. Even though maybe you are just smart, and I don't even know if it really is, like, I don't know if, like, maybe smart people are just very psychic. Who knows if it's just that they are so in tune intuitively that they know everything because they get the answer in front of them when they get asked a question. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. It's not really that interesting. So, but yeah, people find you very smart, very rational minded, very like sensible, and yeah, and a visionary. So people see you as someone who has the capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others. So I feel like people also see you as someone who can look through the bullshit. Like, if there's something fishy going on around you, like, you can tell. And like, if there's something fishy going on in your country, like something with the politics, like if it seems fishy, it usually is. And I think you're very good at like seeing through the bullshit, like seeing it for what it truly is. and smelling the corruption and really like having a good eye for what's happening, that's like the unfair things that's happening, the unjust things that's happening in your society or in other societies of the world. So yeah. But yeah, that's all I have for you, group number 5. I hope this reading was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe to my channel, and if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one, and have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 6. You chose this Rota Mundi tarot deck, and I will start with some channeling, and then I will shuffle these cards for you. Group number 6. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 6? The people who will choose group number 6. What do people like about group number 6? Okay, so I feel like people really like that you're very helpful, that you're always available to help, and always like people feel like they can really rely on you, that you're always available to them when they need you. Like people feel like they can call you in the middle of the night and you would answer the phone, and like you're not gonna turn them down. So people really feel like you're a very good friend, like and very loving, very caring, very thoughtful. And people really like just the fact that you're so empathetic. Like you're always so like you always understand people. Like you're very understandable. Like if people come to you with an excuse to why they did this or that, you're not getting mad at them. You understand them. You meet them with understanding and tolerance, and you're not being judgmental. You're good at giving people the benefit of the doubt and believing them when they tell you that they are genuinely sorry. Like you're very good at like forgiving people, and I think people really like that about you, that you're so forgiving, and you give people second chances, and it's like you don't just throw people into the trash just because they said one thing wrong. Like you give them, like you don't let them just go. Like if they like or like if they say something that's stupid or insensitive or hurtful, you don't just give them a pass. It's not like that, but it's like if they do that, you ask them about it. Like you give them a second chance to redeem themselves, to explain themselves, why they did it, why they said it, what made them say it, and you really hear them out and try to make sense of it and try to understand them on a deeper level, on a soul level. Try to put yourself in their shoes and see the world from their point of view, and see if you can actually get to a point where you can actually forgive the person by trying to get into their mindset, what mindset they were in at the moment when they said it, and understand them from that perspective. And I think people like that about you. People like that you don't just throw people away without trying to understand them first. And then, like, if you try to understand them, if you really give them a second chance to make them explain themselves, and if they then still are being assholes, then you throw them away. But you give them that chance to explain why they did it, why they said it. And I think people like that people like this, because I feel like in many situations that this has happened to you, in many of those situations it was actually based on a misunderstanding, like misunderstanding each other, not really realizing that the person who said something hurtful didn't actually realize how hurtful it was when they said it. So by hearing them out, I feel like you actually learned that it wasn't actually what they meant. And so I think you've solved a lot of these issues that you have had with people by just hearing them out. And I feel like you're also a very good meddler, and people like that about you too, that you're good at also helping other people sort their misunderstandings out, like sort their issues with each other, and making other people talk to each other as well. And like that you're good at being like a diplomat, being like getting in the middle of like if two people are fighting and has been fighting for years, maybe you might be the secret weapon that can actually sort it all out, like that you can make people talk again, because you have a way of finding the core to the problem, like like finding the misunderstanding, find the thing that like why people are clashing, and find out how to fix that, and make them understand each other. So with 6 of Cups reversed, I think people see you as very mature, very like you have a lot of maturity. You're very, very grown up, like very adult, like you're very, probably also very good at gaining respect from people. Like people listen to you because they see you as like a bit of an authority figure. Like they see you as someone they should listen to, because you seem a bit more grown up than everybody else. Like and it's I feel like they also see you as very very original, like like in the way that you solve issues. Like you have a very good way of coming up with creative solutions to problems. Like maybe you also have some very interesting ideas about psychology or philosophy or sociology, and I think people are very intrigued by that. people like to listen to you talk about the things that you're passionate about, and especially the ideas that you have. Like you might have come up with some systems or belief systems or moral systems or something in terms of maybe philosophy, but also like psychoanalysis, where because you're so good at reading people, you might be very, and like you're very good at like psychoanalyzing people, and this is also why you're interested in like learning more about like why people say the things that they say, and like if someone says something hurtful to you, you're interested in psychoanalyzing them, finding the core to why they are being so aggressive, why they like, if it's because, and some people might be a bit annoyed by this, but I am sensing that most people actually like this about you, because it's like, it's kind of like, because it's always on point. Like if like some people might not like this when other people do it, other people who are not you, because you can get away with it because your psychoanalysis is always on point. So if someone says something hurtful to you and you then respond by asking them if it's because you resemble their mother and that they have a difficult relationship with their mother, and maybe that is the core issue that they have with you. For some people, like if some people did the same, it would probably be considered a bit cringy, but when you do it, it always makes sense, and it always kind of hurts, because it's like it's a bit too real, like. And so I think you kind of get away with this, and it seems to always solve the issue, because it's like you kind of close them off, like, or close you end the argument there, because it's like you kind of hit them on a soft spot, like but this is also just like people like your take. People like to hear your point of view, psychological point of view, because it's always kind of interesting, or very interesting, and and people like that about you. People like that you're very good at reading people. You're good at reading minds. You know what's going on. So, but what do people like about you? Okay, so with Queen of Pentacles, I think people see you as very like very direct, but very on point. Sometimes people might feel like you're a bit too direct, and but mostly people like your realness, like your people like that you're so genuine and authentic. People like your personality, because it's like you're not trying too hard to impress anyone. Like you're very humble, but you end up impressing people anyways because you're very smart and you have very, very interesting ideas about very, very complicated concepts that like when you talk about things that you're passionate about, people are very intrigued by it, but they don't really understand it because it's a bit like people can't really catch up with it because it's sometimes it's very outside the box and very like very very original to the point where it might be a bit difficult for people to consume, like because it's such a different concept than what they are used to. And maybe you are also just the type of person who likes to see things upside down, like turn things upside down, like things that we have been like things that we've been indoctrinated into believing, like since birth. Like there are certain things that we have been fed, certain information that we've been fed, so we believe it's like the only truth because it's the only thing we know. And and I think you like to challenge those things, the things that we have come to believe is the only truth, just because we haven't been shown an alternative, and so we don't realize that it's not necessarily the right way of doing things, that there might be a more efficient way to do things that we just don't see because we haven't seen the more efficient alternative because it hasn't been presented to us. So I think you like to kind of challenge those things that we do out of habit, that maybe it might not be the best thing for us, but and maybe there are better ways, like better habits to have instead. And it's like, I don't know, with a masculine triangle, I think people find you maybe a bit more masculine than feminine because you're so like you might, like when you psychoanalyze people, like it's very, like you have a lot of empathy and you try very hard to put yourself in other people's shoes and see things from their perspective. And so people might assume that you're like more emotional than you actually are. So sometimes they might get a bit like surprised when they realize that you're actually not a feeler, like you're not the feeling type, you're more of a thinker than a feeler. Like you like to think your feelings, like you like to think about them, have conversations about them. You could have like very strong Mercury placement in your zodiac chart, natal chart. So you could have like some Virgo or Gemini in very important placements, because I think you have a need to make sense of your feelings, like take what's intangible and make it tangible, even though it's impossible to do. Like take the feelings and talk about them until they make sense to you, even though sometimes feelings stop making sense when you talk too much about them, because then you stop feeling them, and then they kind of stop being feelings and start being thoughts instead, and then they have transformed and now they are not what they, so but I think you're good at making sense of feelings, not just your own, but also other people's feelings. And I think it's usually easier to make sense of other people's feelings than your own, because you're not feeling other people's feelings. So it's easier to make other people's feelings into thoughts while still keeping their feelings, so that they still are feeling their feelings. You're just making sense of them. And so you can kind of do that as like a middleman, or like so that you're the subject and then the feelings are the object, but you can only make the feelings the object if you're the subject, because and then you have to be the second person in that, like, and analyzing the feelings of another person as of an object, because the subject can't be the subject and the object at the same time, because then they will conflict each other. And but this might make sense, or might not make sense. I don't know. But you might have a very good way of making sense of feelings and making sense of other people's feelings, so that they actually start making sense to them. And so, yeah. With Empress reversed, again, people might like that you're not very feminine, not very emotional, that you don't get, that the emotions get the best of you, that you're good at thinking more rationally than emotionally, that you're good at kind of keeping things separate, like talking about politics without getting emotional about it, and seeing statistics, looking at statistics without getting carried away in your own, like, sensitivity or something. I don't know. I don't really feel like there's anything wrong with being feminine, being a woman. So it kind of is a bit like sexist, but there are a lot of sexist people out there who, of course, will like a woman if she's not woman-like. So there are men like that out in the world, and so I feel like there are people around you who like, if you're a woman, then they like you for not being like other women, or not being feminine, that you're more masculine, and that they enjoy that because they have a problem with masculinity, with femininity, I guess, or their own masculinity, really, because it seems like they are a bit threatened or something. I don't know. Threatened by their own like that they feel like they might be a bit too feminine for a masculine man, and so they are suppressing their own femininity because they feel like that's what they've had to do their whole life, and they've never actually been able to show their own emotions and their own sensitivity to the world, because they've always felt like they had to be brave as a man. And so when they meet a female who's just embracing her femininity and being emotional and sensitive, they might be really hard on that female, that woman, because it's like it's everything that they are suppressing inside themselves, and so they don't like it. And so when they meet women who are also suppressing their own femininity, it's like they have something in common with them. And so they feel like, oh, we are on the same wavelength because we're both suppressing our femininity. And I'm not saying you're suppressing your femininity. I'm very, very sorry if it comes across that way. Because like we're all made up of masculine and feminine energy, and some people have more of the masculine energy and some people have more of the feminine energy, and I have more masculine energy. So I guess I would also be considered as one of those women who are suppressing their femininity for some people. I don't know. So I would be on that same like spectrum, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. But I don't even know what I'm talking about. I kind of lost track. I don't, yeah. So don't hate me too much for saying that. I don't know. I feel like some of you might hate me for saying that you're suppressing your femininity. But it's like, it's all good, you know. It's like, it's what people like about you. So it's good. And it might not be suppressing, it might just be that you're more masculine than feminine, and that it's okay. Like, it's okay to be a rational person and being very logical minded and thinking of statistics without thinking about like looking at statistics and not thinking about every individual as a feeling person. Like we women sometimes end up like looking at like people who have died, and like if you look at statistics over people who have died, we kind of feel very bad about all the people who died, whereas men are I don't know really, but I feel like I need to start over again, like start this reading over, because I feel like I fucked it up. But I don't know. Maybe I should. I don't know. I just don't want people to get mad at me, and I feel like I also I've said a lot of stupid things, and I don't really know if I agree with any of it. But it's like just random things that popped up in my mind, and that is what I'm doing as a channel. Like I just channel information and deliver that information and talk about whatever comes up, and I don't always agree with all of it, and I'm trying to make sense of it, but I've kind of lost track of it, and now it's just but I feel like, okay, let's just try to get back on track. People like that you're very mature, you're very rational minded, you're very good at analyzing things, you're good at psychoanalyzing people, you're good at reading people, you're good at reading through the bullshit, seeing the core of the problem, finding solutions to people's problems. You're good at making sense of very complicated feelings that people are feeling. You're good at philosophical thinking. You're good at like really grasping very, very complicated concepts that many people have a hard time keeping up on, and I am one of them. I can't really I feel like I'm kind of lost in this because I've got a headache because I'm trying to keep up, and that's really cool though. Like, it's cool to be able to think about these very, very complicated things and these complicated systems and thought processes that are going through people's minds when they think about gender or things like that, where it's very complicated. But I feel like you're very good at actually keeping up with it and making sense of it. So it's kind of amazing. I'm gonna look at this card here. So it says tribulation as a trait. Like in the bottom of this, it says tribulation. I have absolutely no idea what that means. Sorry, I don't know. It's I don't know. And this is maybe a sign. Like, this is maybe a message of itself or in itself, that I think people really like, that you know all these very long words. Like, you speak, like, you're very articulate. You're very good at sounding really smart when you talk, like, and it's not just you sounding smart, you are smart because you're using all these long, complicated words correctly. And so people are just very amazed by that, by how smart you are, how you can talk about so complicated things so effortlessly. People think you're super smart, and I think they are very right. You are very smart. You're smarter than me. I'm very certain of that. So that's very, like, amazing, and way to go. And people like that. People like you. That's all I have for you. Group number 6. I hope this reading was helpful or whatever. I don't know. If you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one. And have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 7. So you chose the Alcohol Tarot deck, and I'm gonna start with some channeling, and then I'm gonna shuffle these cards for you, group number 7. So I'm gonna do the channeling now. So, Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 7, the people who will choose group number 7? What do people think? What do people like about group number 7? What do people like about group number 7? I'm sensing people really like your sense of humor. People find you very funny. Like, you make them laugh. People like that you make them laugh. Like, I feel like people really like your dark sense of humor. Like, you might have, like, very dark humor. Like, we might joke about death and darker things, and also like just people like your kind of pessimistic take on everything, like your sarcastic take on things, like people like your nihilistic point of view on life, and like yeah, I think people really like just mostly your sense of humor. People also find your humor very like, I don't know if you have like very observational humor, like you see something in your environment and you just instantly think of a funny joke that goes with like that thing. Like if you see like a cloud that's kind of shaped like something else, or not that, like it's probably funnier than it sounds, but like or if you see like someone standing in a certain way and like kind of that it kind of looks like they, well, that's something, I don't know. But I think people feel like you're very good at like seeing the perfect opportunity for a joke. Like you always just know when to make a joke, when it's needed. Like you know exactly when the timing is right, like when it's the perfect time for a joke, like yeah. And people just really enjoy that you can lift the mood. Like if the mood is very, very awkward, like if people are being very awkward, you know what to say to make it less awkward. You always have some kind of funny line that will make people crack up, and then people are natural towards each other, and the awkwardness just goes out the window, and like it's very nice. It's and people really like that. People like that you make them laugh and that you lighten up the room and make people very comfortable. And yeah, I'm gonna shuffle some cards about what people like about you, group number 7. I feel like some people like also really like to gossip with you, like talk to you behind people's back about about something a bit mean sometimes, like something someone said that wasn't very bright, or an outfit that someone wore that wasn't very flattering, or and people like that, even though it's a bit mean. But people like gossiping with you because you're very hilarious. Like you're fun to gossip with. You're not a mean gossip, you're a fun gossip, and you kind of get away with it. Like people don't really see it as mean, because they like, I feel like you would also say these things directly to their faces, like if you had the opportunity to, and if the timing was right, and if you felt like it was the right mood for it, I think you would. Like I think you're not someone who limits yourself, like to like you're not that afraid of hurting people's feelings, and that sounds bad, but it's not, because it's not like you're being purposely mean. I just think like when it's right, also know when people actually can take a joke. Like you can tell beforehand, before making a joke, you can tell that the person is going to find it funny, like that they're not going to take it personally. And maybe not about the outfit, but if someone says something that's a bit unthought, not thought through, or a bit easy to misunderstand or something, then I think you would tell it to them, like, directly. So I'm gonna look at the cards. So with Temperance reversed, I think people like that you're not a balanced person. Like you're not trying to be, and you're not trying to be like the best version of yourself, or like some kind of like self-help book. Like you're not like the embodiment of a self-help book. Like you're more the opposite of that. Like you embrace the chaos. Like you're not being like, you're not advocating that people should change their lives or change their lifestyle or be better versions of themselves. Like you don't really believe in that philosophy. It's like you have another life philosophy that is just that we should just have a good time. I feel like for many of you, you're more just embracing who you are, and embracing that you have certain flaws, and not trying to hide them away, and being very open about them and talking about them without shame. And I think people really like that about you, that you're not afraid of making a joke about yourself. You're not afraid of telling an embarrassing story about yourself, something that happened to you or something you did that was really, really embarrassing. I think you're the type of person who kind of likes talking about it because talking about it makes you feel less embarrassed about it, because it's like the more you share it, the less control it has over your life. And so I think you really enjoy sharing stories like that. And I think people just really like how real you are. Like you're showing people your flaws, and you're talking about your flaws, and you're talking about your own. I feel like you talk about your own addiction as well. Like if you have an addiction, you might be very open about the fact that you have it. Like you're not ashamed of it. You're not keeping it a secret. You're very like I feel like people just get this sense that you're very open and very honest, and you dare to say things that are a bit taboo, like considered taboo. Like you kind of push the boundaries by talking about things that other people might consider a bit inappropriate, or a bit too personal, or something like that. And I also just feel like you're very open about your own mental health. Like if you have problems, like if you have a diagnosis, or like if you're bipolar or something, you might be very open about that and you might tell people without feeling ashamed of it. Like you just say that's what's up, and that's why you're a bit manic sometimes, and that's why and that it's okay, like that you're embracing that. You're not feeling like it's something you should be ashamed of. It's more like something that builds character, or it shows character, and I think you know that, and I think that's also why you share it with people, because you know it's nothing to be embarrassed about. You know it's a part of you, and the more things, the more flaws you share with people, the more people actually like you, because they like the raw, authentic you. Like they like to see that version of you. So yeah, with the Knight of Spirits, which is Knight of Swords reversed, I think people really like that you're laid back, you're calm and collected. Like, even though you have certain issues that you're very open about, you seem to be more collected than most people who don't even have anything they struggle with. So people feel like you're actually kind of functioning, like you're functioning very well, like even though you might have certain big character flaws but people just find you so funny, so it doesn't really matter. Like, you could be a functioning alcoholic and make fun of it and like tell it like it is and say like that is what's going on, and people would just be like, that's, well, what people wouldn't judge you for that, because you have a very likable personality. People just really like you and want to spend time with you, even though you're a train wreck, even though you're a chaotic mess, but people just love that mess. Like, they kind of don't want you to fix it. Like, they want you to be this chaotic all the time, because it's the chaos that's fun. Like, it makes you a dynamic person that they like to be around, because they never know what to expect from you, and they like that. They like that it's always a fun time with you, and so they kind of don't want you to get sober if that's your thing. But if it's not your thing, like, it could be something else, but like, still, if it's something else, like, they just don't want you to be fixed. Like, they want you to stay this beautifully chaotic, because there is beauty in the chaos, and there's very much charm in it. Like, it's very charming and charismatic and like, yeah, and funny as hell. Like, yeah, with Two of Swords, I think people see you as someone who's like, I feel like people see you as someone who balances two things. Like, you have two sides of you, maybe a duality to you, where sometimes you might be this funny character who likes to be out there and have fun and be like partying and be an extrovert, charming as hell, and just charm everyone around you and like put them under your spell and be like this social butterfly. But then there might be times where you just want to be alone and want to be kept alone, and like, you don't want anyone to come and bother you, and so I think you have like a bit of a blend of, or people feel like you have a bit of a blend of extrovert and introvert, where sometimes you're very, very extroverted and sometimes you're very introverted, and that it comes kind of in cycles. And people like that about you, because people feel like when you turn inwards, it kind of makes them feel like there's mystery to you. Like there's this funny side that's all in your face, and that side of you is very, very direct and very easy to understand. And so it doesn't keep a lot of mystery. Like people don't walk away from that side of you and think, oh, that's a mysterious person, because you're so direct when you're this extroverted mess. But when you're the introverted, like when you're introverted and maybe a bit depressed and like go into these, like you might have seasonal depression, so that might be, maybe it's not bipolar but seasonal depression. But yeah, but when you kind of withdraw, I think people get the sense that, oh, you're so deep, you're deep in your thoughts, and oh, you're you're mysterious, and you have all these like dark emotions that you're going through, and like, oh, it's all the trauma that you're dealing with, and like that's why but mostly I think you get tired of being social, and so you kind of have to have this time to build up your socialness, like that it kind of gets overload, and then you kind of need time to relax so that your batteries can be speaking of battery, I have to like press the button because the battery on my phone was low. So confirmation that maybe this makes sense, but that your batteries get low when you're on overdrive, when you are partying and having fun and being this fun person that everybody kind of expects you to be. Like people expect you to be really, really fun all the time, and that is tiring. It makes you tired, and it wears off your battery, and so of course you have to have some time to recharge your battery and get back in the game. And so it makes more sense. But people like to think, oh, it must be because you're dealing with some stuff, and that you're like this like that you're the chaotic mess, and then you become the tragic mess when you're like, not tragic in that way, but like the traumatized emo, so sad, like I don't know, but it's like people like that. People like the mystery because they don't know what you're going through, and they think it's very deep and mysterious and dark, and like you're that people kind of find that hot, like very sexy to think about. So I feel like that's an aspect to it. So yeah. But I think that's all I have for you, group number 7. I hope this reading was helpful, and if it was, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want a personal reading from me, check the description box below for more information on how to get one. And have a great day, and bye.